Emily Carter always believed she had control over her emotions. She had built her life carefully, step by step, like someone stacking fragile glass, making sure nothing slipped. At 32, she lived alone in a small but warm apartment near the center of the city. Every object in her home had a purpose. Every day had a plan. She woke up at 6, made her coffee the same way, and left for work on time. She worked as a graphic designer for a marketing firm, and people respected her calm nature and quiet professionalism. Her coworkers liked her, but no one truly knew her. She smiled when expected, she laughed when appropriate. But deep inside, there was a silence she had learned to live with. It wasn't sadness exactly. It was more like something unfinished, like a sentence that never reached its final word. She had loved once, years ago, but that relationship had ended slowly, not with anger, but with distance. Since then, she had protected herself. She told herself she didn't need anyone to complete her life. And most days, she believed it. Most days, she felt strong and independent. But sometimes, especially in quiet moments, she felt the absence of something she couldn't name. On Thursday evenings, she visited a small bookstore cafe a few blocks from her apartment. It was her escape, her peaceful corner. The smell of coffee and old pages comforted her. The soft sound of turning pages and quiet conversations made her feel less alone. That evening, rain fell gently outside, tapping against the windows like a soft reminder of time passing. Emily sat at her usual table, holding a book but not truly reading it. Her mind was tired from work, and her heart felt heavier than usual. She didn't know why. She stared at the same page for minutes, her thoughts drifting somewhere far away. That was when the door opened and Daniel Brooks walked in. Emily noticed him without meaning to. He wasn't trying to draw attention. He wore a dark coat slightly, wet from the rain, and carried himself with calm certainty. He paused near the entrance, looking around quietly, not searching for anyone, just observing. His face showed experience, not age alone, but the kind of experience that changes a person from the inside. His hair had lines of silver, and his expression held patience. He didn't rush. He didn't check his phone like others did. He simply existed in the moment. Emily looked away quickly, telling herself it didn't matter. He was just another stranger. But something about him stayed in her thoughts. Daniel walked to the bookshelf and picked up a novel. He read the back slowly, as if the words mattered. He didn't pretend to be busy. He didn't try to impress anyone. Emily found herself watching him again, curious, without understanding why. She noticed the way he stood, relaxed but strong. He didn't carry tension, he carried peace, she realized. She hadn't seen that in someone for a long time. After a few minutes, Daniel stepped toward the counter to order coffee. He stood beside her table. Emily felt his presence but kept her eyes on her book. She didn't want to seem interested. She had trained herself to stay emotionally distant from strangers. But then she dropped her bookmark. A tea slipped from her fingers and landed near his feet. She immediately bent down, but Daniel moved first. He picked it up gently, without rushing, without making it awkward. He handed it to her with calm respect. Their eyes met. His eyes were steady, not demanding, not curious in an uncomfortable way. Just calm, just present. Emily felt a strange warmth in her chest, something she hadn't expected. She took the bookmark. "Thank you," she said softly. Daniel nodded once, then glanced at the book in her hands. He didn't smile in a way that felt forced. He simply spoke, his voice quiet and honest. "I understand." Emily blinked, confused. She hadn't said anything. She looked at him, unsure what he meant. He gently nodded toward the book. "Book helped me once," he added. His words were simple. No drama, no performance, just truth. Emily didn't know why those words affected her so deeply. No one had said something like that to her before. Most men she met tried to impress her with jokes or compliments. They tried to prove their worth quickly, but Daniel didn't try to prove anything. spoke like someone who had nothing to gain and nothing to hide. Emily felt exposed in a strange but safe way, like he understood something she hadn't said out loud. She nodded politely, unsure how to respond. "It's a good book," she replied. Daniel gave a small smile, the kind that appeared naturally. "Without effort, yes," he said. "It finds people when they need it." Then he stepped away, giving her space, not waiting for her reaction, not forcing conversation. That moment stayed with her long after he left the counter. She tried to return to her reading, but her mind replayed his voice again and again. "I understand." Those words felt different. They didn't feel like an attempt to impress her. It felt real. She didn't know why that mattered so much. She barely knew him. He hadn't flirted. He hadn't asked her name. He hadn't asked for anything. He had simply spoken honestly and moved on. That alone made him different. Emily stayed at the cafe longer than usual that night. She didn't notice time passing. She kept thinking about how calm he seemed, how comfortable he was with silence, how he didn't need attention. It made her wonder about his life, about his story, about the kind of experiences that shaped him into someone like that. When she finally stood to leave, she glanced toward the counter. He was gone. She felt something unexpected, disappointment. It surprised her. She didn't even know him, yet part of her had hoped he would still be there. She walked home slowly through the rain, her thoughts louder than the sound of falling water. She told herself it didn't matter. He was just a stranger. But her heart didn't agree. That night she lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her apartment felt quieter than usual. She replayed the moment again. His voice, his eyes, his calm presence. She wondered why those two words carried so much weight. I understand. Romance. It wasn't attraction in the usual sense. It was something deeper, something emotional, something safe. She realized she had spent years protecting herself from disappointment. She had learned not to expect understanding from others. She had learned to rely only on herself. But Daniel's words reminded her of something she had forgotten: the feeling of being seen, the feeling of being understood without explanation. That realization scared her slightly. It showed her how much she had been missing. The next morning, she woke up earlier than usual. She made her coffee and sat by the window, watching the city wake up. Her thoughts returned to him again. She wondered if she would ever see him again. She told herself it didn't matter. But deep inside, she hoped she would. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his life. But something inside her had shifted. Something small but powerful. For the first time in years, she felt curiosity instead of certainty. She felt openness instead of control. She didn't realize it yet, but that quiet moment in the bookstore cafe had already begun to change her. And somewhere in the city, Daniel Brooks carried his own thoughts, his own memories, and his own reasons for saying those two simple words. Neither of them knew it yet, but their lives had already begun moving toward something neither of them had planned. And the next time their paths crossed, Emily would discover that understanding was not just something he said, it was something he lived. Daniel Brooks did not believe in second chances when he was younger. He believed in moving forward, in winning, in proving himself. At 35, he had everything people admired. He lived in a beautiful house in Chicago, drove a car that turned heads, and worked as a financial advisor in a respected firm. People trusted his decisions. They listened when he spoke. He was confident, sharp, and focused. But confidence can sometimes hide blindness. He was married to a woman named Laura, someone kind and thoughtful, someone who loved deeply without asking for much. She supported him when he worked late, encouraged him when he felt pressure, and stayed beside him when life became difficult. But Daniel didn't see her fully. He thought providing comfort and stability was enough. He thought love meant solving problems and offering solutions. When Laura spoke about her feelings, he listened, but only to respond. He didn't listen to understand her heart. Didn't realize she wasn't asking for answers. She was asking, for connection. Over time, small distances grew between them. They still lived in the same house. They still spoke every day. But something invisible faded. Laura smiled less. She shared less. Her silence slowly replaced her warmth. Daniel noticed it, but didn't know what it meant. He thought it was temporary. He thought time would fix it. One evening, Laura sat across from him at the dinner table, her expression calm but different. She looked at him with tired eyes, not angry, not emotional, just honest. She said quietly, "You don't really hear me anymore." Daniel immediately tried to respond. He explained his stress. He explained his responsibilities. He explained his intentions. But she didn't need explanations. She needed understanding. And he didn't know how to give it. Weeks later, she left. She didn't shout. She didn't blame him. She simply packed her things and stood at the door. Before she walked away, she said words that stayed with him forever. "I hope one day you learn to understand someone, not fix them." Then she was gone. The house felt larger, colder, emptier. Daniel stood in silence, unable to escape the truth. For the first time in his life, success meant nothing, he realized. He had lost something priceless, not because he didn't love her, but because he didn't know how to show it in the way she needed. That loss changed him slowly. At first, he tried to distract himself with work. He stayed late at the office. He avoided going home. But emptiness followed him everywhere. He began to reflect on his past, on his words, on his actions. He remembered moments when Laura tried to share her fears, and he responded with advice instead of empathy. He remembered moments when she needed comfort, and he offered solutions instead of presence. He began to see his mistakes clearly, and that awareness hurt more than anything else. Pain has a way of teaching lessons pride never could. Daniel started changing small things. He stopped rushing conversations. He started observing people more carefully. He noticed emotions behind words. He listened without interrupting. He learned that silence can carry meaning. He learned that understanding isn't about agreeing. It's about accepting someone's feelings without trying to control them. Years passed. His life became quieter. He moved to Boston for a fresh start. He chose a smaller apartment, simpler furniture, fewer distractions. He no longer chased attention. He valued peace. He spent evenings reading, walking, and reflecting. Became someone different. Not weaker, just wiser. Then one rainy evening, he walked into the bookstore cafe and saw Emily Carter. He noticed her immediately, not because she demanded attention, but because she carried quiet strength. She sat alone, holding a book, but lost in thought. Her expression showed control, but her eyes showed distance. Daniel recognized that look. He'd seen it before. It was the look of someone protecting their heart. He didn't approach her with intention. He didn't plan anything. But when she dropped her bookmark and their eyes met, he felt a calm certainty. He saw familiarity in her silence. He said the words naturally. "I understand." He didn't say them to impress her. He said them because he truly did. He understood loneliness that hides behind independence. He understood strength that comes from surviving disappointment. He understood emotional caution. He walked away afterward, not expecting anything, but something about her stayed in his mind. In the following weeks, he returned to the cafe often. Not to chase her, but because he enjoyed the peace there. Sometimes she was there. Sometimes she wasn't, but slowly their paths crossed again and again. Their conversations began naturally. They spoke about books first, then about work, then about life. Daniel never rushed her. He never asked questions that forced her to open up. He allowed her to choose her pace. Emily noticed his patience. She noticed how he never tried to dominate conversations. He listened fully. When she spoke, he paid attention, not to reply, but to understand. That difference affected her deeply. One evening, she shared something personal. She told him about her past relationship, about how she felt invisible near the end, about how she stopped sharing her feelings because she believed they didn't matter. Daniel listened quietly. He didn't interrupt, didn't offer advice. When she finished, he said softly, "I understand." She looked at him carefully, searching his face for insincerity. But there was none. His eyes held truth. She believed. Him, that belief created trust. Trust created comfort. Comfort created connection. Their bond grew stronger, not through dramatic moments, but through small, consistent presence. They walked through the city together. They shared quiet dinners. They laughed without effort. Emily felt safe beside him. Not because he promised anything, but because he remained honest. One evening she asked him, "Why do you listen so carefully?" Daniel paused. He thought about Laura. He thought about his past mistakes. He answered honestly, "'Cause I learned what happens when you don't." Emily didn't need more explanation. She understood his pain without hearing the full story. That mutual understanding brought them closer. Daniel never tried to be perfect. He simply stayed present. He respected her independence. He never pressured her emotions. He gave her space when she needed it and support when she wanted it. Emily began to feel something she hadn't felt in years: emotional peace. She didn't feel the need to protect herself constantly. She didn't feel the need to hide her thoughts. She could simply be herself. One night, as they sat by the harbor, watching lights reflect on the water, Emily realized something important. Daniel didn't attract her because of his age. He attracted her because of his emotional clarity. He didn't play games. He didn't create confusion. He offered stability. He offered understanding. He offered truth. She looked at him and asked, quietly, "Did someone teach you to be this way?" Daniel smiled gently. "Life did," he replied. His answer carried weight. Emily felt grateful for the experiences that shaped him, even the painful ones, 'cause without them, he wouldn't be the man sitting beside her. Their connection grew naturally into love, not rushed, not forced. It grew from trust, respect, and understanding. Emily realized something powerful. Traction isn't built on appearance alone. It grows from emotional safety. It grows when someone makes you feel heard. Daniel also found something he thought he had lost forever. He found redemption. By replacing his past, but by learning from it. He became the man he needed to become. He became someone capable of understanding, not just hearing. And Emily became someone capable of trusting again. Neither of them saved each other. They simply stood beside each other, offering presence and truth. And in that quiet understanding, they found something rare. Not perfect love, but real love. The kind built on two simple words that carried the power of emotional connection. "I understand."